All right, so today we revealed our number 4 wine of the year in Gary's top 10 wines of 2022, which is coming from Spain. This is the Villota 2019 coming from Rioja. Now, here today with me, I have Victor Ordonez, who's the National Sales Manager of Jorge Ordonez Selections, which is one of the top importers of Spanish wines in the country. So, Victor, what was it about the wines of Villota that got your attention?
Well, I think Rioja has always had an important part in our portfolio, and I think that while we feel pride in representing many different appellations and varieties in Spain that are less well known, Rioja today is still the classic appellation of Spain, and we have a very strong and big portfolio of Rioja with producers that we've represented in some cases for over 30 years. But I think what's really stood out to us about Villota is that it was basically, I think, the most famous winemaking family in Rioja that we or anyone has ever heard of. This is a company or a family that has been farming this one single estate in the village of La Serna in Rioja Alavesa since 1930. And we're responsible for founding one of the most important brands in Rioja in the 20th century, Contino, which was a company that pioneered the concept of estate-grown Rioja. And we love the story as a result. We love the history of the family. But most importantly, we love the quality of the wine. And I think that, Rioja is a region that produces a lot of great wine these days, but it's also a region that produces a lot of really kind of corporate style volumetric wines. And so to taste a new brand coming out with something that was so classic and so high quality, frankly, at such a good price as well, was really attractive to us.
Absolutely. And this wine in particular, the 2019, this is mostly Tempranillo.
Yep.
And it comes from a mixture of older vines. There's some Graciano, Garnacha in there as well.
For sure.
Now, what is it about this wine that you think is so special?
Well, so this is, like I said, the Villota family has been farming this one estate in Rioja Alavesa in the village of La Serna, which is on a meander of the Ebro River on alluvial, gravelly soils mixed with chalk and limestone, but also iron, since 1930. And what makes this wine unique specifically is that it's one single estate that produces this wine. So Rioja famously is a region of blends, both blends of grape varieties, blends of different villages, blends of vineyard sites, in some cases blends of different vintages to produce a consistent product year over year. And the Villota family in 1973 founded Rioja's first single estate wine, which was a winery called Contino, which they co-founded with Cune. And since then, they've been farming just this one estate. So this is a 105-hectare estate, and one of the few wineries that today in Rioja is truly one single estate bottled wine. Right? It's almost an unheard of concept in Rioja because the culture of the region is blending, not single estate bottling. And so, like you said, this is a wine that is blended from vineyards within the estate that are between 90 and 40 years old. Ironically, they're at lower altitude. For the rest of Rioja, it's at 450 meters, which sometimes is thought of as a bad thing, but I think in this case adds a unique dimension to the wine because it's slightly at lower altitude, which means it's warmer, which means they can grow Graciano, Garnacha, and Mazuelo, the more Mediterranean varieties in Rioja, more effectively every year. And so this is a wine that, like you said, has a significant percentage of those blending varieties, and I think it definitely comes across in the wine. Like, it doesn't just have that kind of austere cherry Tempranillo. It has some more of that kind of spicy, plump fruit that comes from the Garnacha and the Graciano and the pepperiness. And it has, I think, more complexity, but also more generous fruit because of the inclusion of those blending varieties, which in a more high altitude estate, at more limited levels of altitude, you really probably would only be able to focus on Tempranillo, which can also produce fantastic wines, of course. But that's one of the things I think makes this wine so different and so unique, is that fact that it comes from that one single estate, and that terroir allows for Northern Rioja an unusually high percentage of those blending varieties.
This wine is absolutely delicious. I remember when we first tasted it together, I just thought there was such great balance to it, and such great quality. This did get 93 points from Venice.
Yes.
And here at Gary's, it's $29.99, which I think you had mentioned for the price point, this just over delivers.
Totally.
What sort of wine lover do you think would really appreciate this wine if they've never had a Rioja like this, or even a Rioja before?
This is like one of those wines that I think is like what I like to call like a good gateway drug wine into old world wines, right? It's It's a wine that I think will appeal to lovers of the classics because it is a classic, because this is a family, like I said, that's been producing wines from this one single estate and, pioneered that concept 40 years ago and has been producing wines there for 90 years. It has kind of this almost, reminds me of Rioja with a touch of Rhone in it, which I think because you have that percentage of the Graciano and the Garnacha, which add kind of that some of that spicy fruit character that you get in wines, both from the northern and southern Rhone. But I also think because of the more generous fruit character that you have, because of the inclusion of those varieties, people that are more accustomed to drinking New World wines, this will be an easier wine for them to enjoy than perhaps, one of the more oxidative classic styles of Rioja that might be a little more difficult for them to wrap their mind around. So this is, I think, a wine for someone who's also, a classic Rioja for someone who's trying to get into drinking wines from Rioja.
And what sort of food would you pair with this lovely wine?
I mean, everything, right? I mean, it's a wine that obviously because of the fruit, because of the structure, because of the tannin, would go beautifully well with beef. The classic thing there in Rioja is our baby lamb chops. Chuletillas de cordero, which I think would be perfect with this. Every kind of holiday roast. But also, once again, I think, like you said, this is a wine with tremendous freshness and balance that, if you're doing a grilled piece of tuna or something with lobsters, some kind of seafood that's a little more substantial, I think it would work super well as well. We actually drank a bottle of this the other night, and we made a Chinese-style lobster with ginger and scallions in a wok at home, and that was like a perfect kind of pairing, right? Like it's seafood, but it's a little more substantial, a little more unctuous.
Well, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Victor. I really appreciate it. This wine, it really has everything. It has the quality, it has the story, it has the food pairing capabilities. All of these reasons and more is what made this wine our number 4 wine of the year. This is a Gary's exclusive in New Jersey. You can get it for $29.99. Buy 6 bottles or more, you get another 10% off. Doesn't really get much better than that. So thank you again, Victor. I appreciate it. Cheers.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.